Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvenavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verses 21 to 25.
निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्तः सर्वपरिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम् यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टः द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः समसिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्महविः ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यं ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना दैवमेवापरे यज्ञं योगिनः पर्युपासते ब्रह्माज्ञावपरे यज्ञं यज्ञो नैवोपजुह्वति.
We have done up to shloka number 22 of this chapter 4. In this portion, starting from verse 19 till 24, the topic is actions of the enlightened, not binding. When you say enlightened, meaning a person who's established in the knowledge of oneself. One who has established oneself in the true knowledge about himself or herself. The real I, the knowledge of the real I. About the I being the consciousness, Satchitananda Swarupa, rather than this body, mind, intellect complex. Atma is neither born nor dies. Atma always exists. It is eternal. It is all pervading. It is endless. It is, what do you call, which doesn't do anything. It's neither a doer nor an enjoyer. So there is no punya papa for Atma, etc., etc. So many pointers for Atma is given. So when you understand that Atma is never a doer and therefore no punya papa, no enjoyership, and you are established in that knowledge, which means all your sanchita and agami karma is gone, then what is there is only prarabdha, and due to prarabdha, the Gnani functions in the world, and a Gnani, while just going about exhausting the prarabdha, may lead a lifestyle of grahastha, being in the world, or the life of a sannyasi, renunciation. He says it doesn't really matter. What matters is the knowledge. The actions of the enlightened is totally underlined by the knowledge of the self within. So the person also does the action with tremendous objectivity. There is no desire propelling the action. There is no excitement while doing the action. There is contentment and there is no expectation with reference to the future. The person's mind is not propelling the action. It is the knowledge that is, backing the person's action throughout. So that's all he's saying. So in 22, he talked about, and yeah, of course, the sannyasi, content with whatever is got and sought. Sannyasi has renounced everything, and in life, whatever he gets with zero expectations, he's happy with that. Rising above the pairs of opposites, at all levels. And then internally in his mind, there is no jealousy, nothing, and absolutely balanced in both success and failure. In all, when he goes for bhiksha, if he gets something, nice food, successful, nothing, failure, you can take it whichever way you want. In all that, he is contented. He is going about doing whatever the obligation he has as a sannyasi, but is not bound by any of his actions. So basically, what is important is not the lifestyle. What is important is the knowledge of the self. So that's why in this portion he is emphasizing on that. The very chapter is called as what? Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. The yoga of renunciation of action through knowledge. So through knowledge, the action is renounced when it is backed by the knowledge that I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer. Thereafter, whether the action is done or not done doesn't matter. Of action, or it could be renunciation in action, not necessarily of action. So even if somebody has renounced the world like a sannyasi, renunciation of action, he also has no kartrutva. The other person may be in the world, renunciation in the world, the kartrutva is not there because the knowledge is backing. Renunciation, whenever we use the word renunciation, our class members in their mind, immediately the word knowledge of the self should come. Knowledge of the higher should come. Because we always is not possible unless you are having the knowledge of the higher. When you take up the knowledge of the higher, the lower automatically drops. It's called renunciation. When the child takes up the cycle world, the toy world gives up the child. When the flower matures into a fruit, the petals of the flower automatically drop. By forcefully plucking the petals, it will not mature into a fruit. So therefore, renunciation is the other side of knowledge. Knowledge and renunciation means one and the same. This he talks about in the next shloka, how, the action is completely dissolved of a person with knowledge. One who is established in the self, thereafter, whatever actions he may do or not do, all are dissolved. Let's study verse 23.
Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavastita chetasaha yajñāyācharatah karma samagram praviliyate.
One who is devoid of attachment, liberated, one who is devoid of attachment, gata sangasya, liberated, muktasya, jnana vastita chetasaha, with mind established in knowledge. Yajna karma, acting for yajna. Samagram praviliyate, his whole action is dissolved. So you understand it like this. With mind established in knowledge, knowledge of what? Of the self, knowledge of the higher. Jnana vastvita chetasa. Chetasa means thoughts. The thoughts, the mind is established in the jnanam. What jnanam? Again, shloka number 18. What did he say in shloka number 18? Inaction, inaction, action in inaction. So once you are established in that knowledge, and the mind is completely established in the knowledge, what happens? He says, you instantly become liberated from the world. You become totally liberated from the world, and you will be devoid of attachment to both the external, internal, and the results that come from action. The external fluctuations in the world, the internal, mental conditions, and the results that come from the action. A person becomes completely detached. See, what value would you have for something that actually doesn't exist? When you realize, when you gain the knowledge that what is Satyam, and the world is only a superimposition and actually it doesn't exist, then what value would you have for anything that the world offers? So therefore he's saying, absolutely detached, devoid of any attachment whatsoever for the world. That's why I said, detachment comes the moment knowledge comes. Consciously identifying with the higher brings about that detachment to the lower, detachment with the lower. So once you, by constant thinking about the divinity, as you think, so shall you become. You get established in the divinity. Then you become detached from the world. Thereafter, he says, that kind of person will be acting, the liberated person will be acting for yajna, in the sense, with complete sacrifice of ignorance. When the ignorance is completely sacrificed, what is kindled? Knowledge is kindled. So with the knowledge, he or she remains a non-doer, while the body, mind, intellect does the action. So there is zero motive, there is zero selfishness. Such an action is what is called as yajna. Animals do actions without motive, but they are programmed that way. They are not doing it consciously. Whereas an enlightened soul functions exactly like that, without any motive, but consciously, with awareness. So therefore he is saying, acting for yajna, sacrifice. The ego is sacrificed, then you are functioning as a spoke in the wheel of life, as or with oneness with dharma. Otherwise, what you are doing, you have separated yourself from the total, that is called ego. Then you are doing things for yourself, not for yajna. Yajna means the ego is dissolved. You are just doing as total. You understand? Not as an individual. It's called yajna. When such actions are done, there is no doership in that action, and therefore no enjoyership. So he says his whole action is dissolved. Is dissolved in the sense, when you sow the seed, if it is not roasted in the fire, that seed can germinate. It produces something out of it. But when the seed is roasted, it has lost the capacity to germinate. Nothing can come out of it. No production from it. Exactly like that. This person with knowledge of the higher is sowing the seed after roasting it in the fire of knowledge. He is functioning, expressing the prarabdha vasanas, but underlined by knowledge of the self. That action, those actions do not produce any karma, no punya papa, because it is roasted in the fire of knowledge. That's all he's saying. So therefore, a person who is evolved, it is not as if he will not do the action. His actions are as good as not done because there is no motive. This is what we need to understand in the Gita. Many places he explains this concept. In the 3rd chapter also he said, a person who is evolved, for him there is nothing to be done. Now, if these concepts are not understood correctly, nothing to be done. Nothing to be done. Just relax, enjoy. We'll become like that. No. Nothing to be done means he has no interest in doing. He has no interest in not doing. When you have interest in not doing, then there is kartrutva. So when we don't understand this knowledge correctly, we will have the interest to not do. And we try to justify that. When you have interest to not do an action means there is kartrutva. You understand, that is motive. Then that will have an effect. Then it will have the effect. For omissions and commissions, you have to pay. So with motive, when you don't do, that's called omission. With motive, when you do what you ought not to do, it's called commission. You will pay for it. With motive, you do what you ought to do also, you will have to pay for it. Meaning you will get punya. So therefore he says, the main thing here is this knowledge about oneself. This I, my real nature, is akarta, abhokta. I am not the doer. Seeing the action in inaction, inaction, inaction. That shloka, when we explained it like this. Seeing inaction in action means seeing the Atma as a non-doer, while the body, mind, intellect is acting, doing. So the doer is the body, mind, intellect. Anatma, Atma is non-doer. We are attributing this doership to the Atma and saying, I am a doer. It's because of ignorance. Once this understanding comes, then you clearly separate Anatma and Atma. Say, I, the Atma, is a non-doer. The body, mind, intellect are only functioning. Then seeing action in inaction. For that we said two things, if you remember. Even though a person is not doing, but sitting with motive, having interest not to do, like Arjuna in the first chapter, end of first chapter, he will still incur karma. Action in inaction. The other interpretation that Swamiji gives is, that's also very interesting and important interpretation. It says that seeing action in inaction. For that, I think I gave this example When you go to Middle East, you will not go because of the war situation. Otherwise, when you go there, you see beautiful buildings, skyscrapers and all that. When you see all these buildings, you should understand that it is all come up because of petrol. So when you see the buildings, you are seeing petrol. That is called seeing inaction in action. And when you just see the petrol, supposing they say, this place or under the sea here, which is within the boundary of your country, there is oil, there is petrol. So when you see that petrol, you see the potential of all these wonderful buildings, roads, flyovers, everything. See, in other words, behind all these activities, what is there? That non-doing self, remaining doing nothing, but lending its sentiency to the insentient body, mind, intellect. Isn't it? In its mere presence, without having any motive, doership, in its mere presence, the body, mind, intellect borrows the sentiency from the Atma and is doing all the actions. So therefore, when you see the Atma, you should see all the potential of action. That is action in inaction. Seeing the potential of action in the non-doing Atma. That is another interpretation. Now, all this you must remember, because otherwise you will not understand the next shloka. All this you must understand. So he says, one who is devoid of attachment, liberated from the world, as a result of mind establishing itself in the knowledge of the self. That person will only be doing action due to prarabdha with no motive, acting, dissolving the ego, called as yajna. Such a person's action is completely dissolved. It does not produce any vasanas. That is what he's saying. Why it doesn't produce any vasanas? The liberated person has Advaita Darshan. He sees only oneness. He's seeing only divinity in everything. See, when the sunlight falls on the prism, 7 vibgoric colors come out. The prism is the mind. Thus, colorless light falling in the prism of the mind. Colorless light is consciousness. Falling in the prism of the mind. The 7 lokas come about. You understand it like that? So, if you have got this knowledge, you disassociate from the mind. Then you don't see the variety. You don't see the variety means what? It's not that they won't see the variety. They may see the variety, but they'll understand it as divinity. For this, we gave the example of a thief. When a thief enters jewelry shop, when you enter the jewelry shop, what do you see? You see all varieties of jewelries, necklace, bangles, anklets, chain. earrings, nose ring, all that you're seeing. When he enters, thief, he doesn't see all this. He sees only one. Advaita darshanam he has. What? Only gold. Swarna darshanam. Everywhere he sees only gold and gold and gold. He's got gunny bags and backpacks. He'll simply open them, push the whole lot into it. He's not bothered whether it is a chain or necklace, all gold. So, this is what he's saying. We are seeing the world through the prism of our mind. An enlightened person has gone beyond the mind. When you see the world through the prism of the mind, you see, world by itself is infinite. But we are seeing it through the mind, through the eyes. So, like in the camera, the frame, this much only it can come. How much over wide angle you go, the maximum to which it can go. It's not able to capture the whole thing. Like that, when the world is viewed, when our experiences are viewed through the mind, then the limitation comes. And the limited mind can never be contented. When the mind dissolves, what is there? Limitlessness, which is totally contented. Absolutely contented. Paripurnam. So he's talking about the dissolution of mind. The enlightened person, the liberated person, liberated from what? From the mind. The moment you liberate from the mind, you liberate it from the past and future. Totally in the present. You're liberated from everything. So that's what he's, saying, that person's actions are completely dissolved. Why it is dissolved? Because his vision is what? Advaita. Not Dvaita anymore. Like you and me. The moment we start viewing it from the mind, then the separation comes. The variety comes. The moment the variety comes, the separation comes, discontentment comes, jealousy, envy, greed, fear, everything comes. This is the problem. We are all identifying with the mind and then functioning. That is the culprit. So, when you question the very mind, what is its essential nature? Then you understand that its essential nature is Atma. And with that knowledge, in that knowledge, the mind is established. Jnana Yoga Vyavastita. Understand? It says Jnana Vastita Chetasaha. Jnana Yoga Vyavastita elsewhere he says. Here he says Jnana Vastita Chetasaha. In both, what it means is the mind is established in the divinity. Jnana Yoga. Then that person is having Advaita Darshan. The person is having Advaita Darshan. The person is seeing only divinity everywhere. He is seeing himself as divinity, all actions, everything as divinity, the cause of action, the result, the instrument, everything. The moment the person sees everything as Brahman, in that vision, there is no motive. And therefore, that person's action is dissolved. So that vision is being spoken in the next sloka. That is very important. Remember that example of the thief. Gnani is not a thief. It's like that. He has Swarna Darshanam in everything. Gnani has Brahma Darshanam. He is only Brahman in everything. That is what is spoken about in the next shloka. Very off-quoted shloka. And this shloka is also chanted before we take food, breakfast or lunch or dinner. And we are also, it's about 11:30. Some of you may have the habit of having lunch early. So if I start chanting this, don't think that we are going to conclude the class and start having food. Why this is chanted before food also we will discuss. It's a very, one of the important shlokas of the Gita. And like I said, very popular shloka. Everybody, many of them knows this. Let's chant this shloka. Verse 24.
ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्महविः ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यं ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना.
Brahmarpanam, the act of offering is Brahman. And then Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi. Brahmahavihi, the oblation is Brahman. Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam. The Agni is also Brahman. And offered by whom? By Brahman. So offered by Brahman in the fire of Brahman. And then he says, Brahmai vatena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. So, by seeing Brahman in action, Brahman verily shall be reached by him. See, when you read this, you may get confused. What is this? He's taking the whole thing he's talking about is the concept called yajna. Yajna is the fire worship. Fire worship, there is, the fire in the kund where they put the wood and they lit the fire. Into the fire, they offer the ahutis and they are using certain instruments to offer the ahuti. And there is an offerer, and the act of offering, and then it kindles, the fire shoots up and blesses. So there is getting something as a result. All these are there in the yajna. Now, when usually people do yajna, they do yajna with certain motive for certain results. But here, the person who's soaked in knowledge, like I explained, who's gone beyond the mind, that person is having Advaita Drishti. Now, in Advaita Drishti, he is seeing the whole yajna from start to finish as Brahman. That's it. The fire, the one who is offering, what is the thing that is offered, the instrument that is used to offer, and the result that comes out of it, everything has nothing but Brahman. It's like when a person wakes up from the dream and has now become the waker. That person knows, understands that everything in the dream was nothing but that one waker's mind. Was nothing but that one waker's mind. The dreamer, the dream objects, friends of the dreamer, enemies of the dreamer, everything, one word should be enough. Everything in the dream was nothing but waker's mind. That's all. You understand? That's what he's saying. The act of offering is Brahman, Brahmarpanam. Also, the word arpanam is interpreted as the ladle that is used to offer. So you can take it as instrument. See, all these shlokas are interpreted from different angles, but the spirit is same. It doesn't differ. Therefore, I'm not getting into those kind of interpretations. It's not needed. Needed in the sense, if you know that, it's good. But the point is, the gist is this, that first we have to understand. The Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Arpanam means what? The offering, the act of offering is Brahman. And then he says, the oblation, Brahma Havihi, the oblation is Brahman. And what is it offered into? It is offered in the fire. That is also nothing but Brahman. And who is offering? They offered by Brahman. And the very act of offering, the offered, the offerer, the instrument, everything is Brahman. Then he says, by seeing Brahman in action, Brahma Karma Samadhina, by seeing Brahman in action, he says, Brahma eva tena gantavyam. Brahman alone is attained by that person. He is not seeing the world. He is only seeing the Brahman. When you go to Dubai, you see all the skyscrapers and all that. You see petrol. How Dubai would have been before they found it there, discovered petrol there. I don't know, early 60s or whatever. You went there, how it would have been. You can go to the museum there, you will see it. So, all are what? Petrol. Simple. Like that, everything is nothing but Brahman and Brahman alone. So, when a person has this Advaita Drishti, first of all, as a result of the knowledge of the divinity, Advaita, he is having Advaita Drishti. Through him, many actions are done, but he has no motive. So, therefore, what happens? He is established in Advaita Drishti. He remains in Advaita Drishti. He doesn't lose that Drishti. What happens to us here in the class? We are all inspired. Excellent, superb. I understand this example, that example. I'm Brahman. Everything is Brahman. We understand. The class finishes, then you go into any work, anything, all gone. Advaita Drishti gone. We come into completely pluralistic Drishti. Dvaita Drishti, completely lost. Isn't it? That doesn't happen in this case. The person is totally established in Brahman. He remains in Brahman. He's reached Brahman. He will be in Brahman. That's all he's saying. Brahman verily shall be reached by him. He cannot reach anything else. He cannot slip out of it. That's it. Once you've got that drishti, you are in it. That's all he says. So therefore, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnav, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivatena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. Now, why do we chant this shloka before the consumption of food? See, a sadhak, a seeker, has the goal of enlightenment. For the sake of enlightenment, like we are studying in Tattvabodha class, he practices various sadhanas because you need to maintain that qualification for the knowledge to go in, seep in. So Dhamma, Shama, Uparama, this, that, everything. Self-control, sense control, mind control, all he is practicing. He can probably control himself from contacting this and that. But he needs to be alive to get enlightened, for which he needs to consume food. Maybe sattvic food, doesn't matter. He has to consume that. You understand? So, he is reiterating within himself that the one who's eating the food is Brahman. The thing that is being eaten is Brahman. And it is offered into what? Into the Vaishvanara. The fire in the belly is where it is offered. That is also Brahman. For what? To live, to reach the Brahman, to get back to Brahman. So his focus is not in the food. He is with awareness eating, no doubt. He knows what he is eating, with awareness he is eating. But the attention is not on the food. It's on Brahman. So, therefore what happens? He will not develop Vasanas for this food and that food. He is not living to eat. He is eating to live to liberate. He is not mindlessly somehow existing to eat, indulge. Mindfully eating to live to liberate. So thus what happens? The consumption of food also is done with that awareness, yajna. So even contact with the sense object is turned into a worship. In fact, from verse 25 till 30, that is the next topic. Very, very important, interesting topic. It's called 12 yajnas. 12 sacrifices, 12 yajnas. It talks about how to convert each and every action of yours into worship. For that, the seed is already put in this shloka, in this verse. So, in the spiritual field, many things are denied, but food is offered. Any Gnani, any sannyasi, any spiritual person, what do? Sir, please come home for bhiksha, for lunch, for dinner. Give him bhiksha. So he is eating. In none of the actions he should get involved. So he maintains this awareness. Even if you are a sadhak, you remind yourself by chanting this shloka to retain this awareness while going through the experience. And if you have liberated already, then this is not something that you, do it consciously. This happens in you spontaneously. You are seeing everything as Brahman because of your establishment in Brahman, and therefore you continue being established in Brahman. You never get dislodged from that drishti, from that darshan. You are an enlightened person, liberated person. See, every shloka for that matter can be interpreted from relative angle, from absolute angle. So like that, this shloka also. So, the act of offering is Brahman. What is offered, the oblation, is Brahman. Offered by Brahman. Offered into what? In the fire of Brahman. For what purpose? Reaching Brahman. So, seeing Brahman in everything, by seeing Brahman in every action, what is that? I told you, inaction, inaction action and inaction. You are seeing petrol in all the buildings, and you are seeing all the building as a potential in petrol. Now, once you see that way, will you have any attraction for it? See, the attraction comes the moment the darshan has happened through the mind, where you are seeing with reference to the qualities. But when you're seeing from the point of view of the substratum, there is no attachment possible. So that's what he's teaching here. It is seeing from the substratum angle, not from the surface, superficial quality angle. That's the basic difference. So, only when you start seeing it from the qualities, then all the other things come. He has more, I have less. There is no lesser more in ocean. Ocean is paripurna. So much water is being evaporated on a daily basis. Have you ever seen ocean writing a letter to the Ministry of Oceanic Studies, or whatever ministry that is? Honorable Minister, please note every day, so much water is being evaporated from me. I'm very agitated because of that. Please do something about it. Or another letter, Honorable Minister, so much water is pouring into me on a daily basis. Please do something about it. It's paripurna. It's limitless. There is no division. So that's what he's saying. So as a sadhak also, chanting of the shloka brings in the awareness of Brahman while going through the experience, so that the involvement is averted. And as an evolved person, this is the vision of the evolved person while all activities are going on. One example of yajna was taken, and that too, it is chanted before food, because to live everybody has to eat. Gnani, Gnani, whatever you are, to eat. So with awareness. So when you do it prayerfully, so you take it now as an example, take it from this and use it in every context, not necessarily only when you're consuming food. Doing any action. That's what yajna means. Once you have that, then, because usually what happens when we do action, if this awareness, this knowledge is not backing, we develop ego. We become more arrogant. The doership increases. But with this knowledge, you understand, behind every action, there is only divinity. From that angle, divinity is the all-doer also. All along I've been saying, or this knowledge has been explaining to us, that divinity is non-doer. But it is not wrong to say divinity is the one which is doing everything also. From that angle, please understand this correctly. Because behind every action, there is divinity enlivening it. Otherwise, not possible. From petrol money only, everything has come. Behind every action, there is petrol. There. Similarly, in the world, behind every action, there is Atma. Otherwise, everything is jada. Everything is insentient. Through the insentient body, mind, intellect, actions are happening. How? When the Chaitanya Swarupam is present in its presence, the sentiency is drawn from it, and then the functions are happening. actions are going about. So in that sense, Atma is the non-doer doer. We are playing with so many words, but everything is to be understood correctly. So when I understand that actually this body, mind, intellect persists in sentience, draws the sentiency from the Atma, which is actually non-doer, and this body, mind, intellect is doing. I am Atma, non-doer, not this, body, mind, intellect. With this understanding, when I do the action, as the action is going on, if this knowledge is there backing, then will I have the doership, arrogance, so much I'm doing, this I'm doing, that I'm doing. People usually complain, how much I'm doing, nobody is doing. Okay, even if they are not doing, at least one word of appreciation. Thank you. That kartrutva. See, when we are involved in the action, when we are doing the action, kartrutva increases generally. But with this knowledge, when you do the action, kartrutva dissolves. Along with kartrutva, bhoktrutvam also dissolves. All the punya, papa, everything dissolves. That is what is teaching here in this chapter. Jnana karma sannyasa yoga. This is called spiritual living actually. Living with awareness. Prayer is actually awareness. It's not begging. Give me this and that. So, that's why Swamiji says prayer is not a part-time, pastime hobby. It's a full-time awareness of truth. So, in every action, you maintain this awareness. Then you won't arrogate. I am doing. So every time you're saying I am doing, you are actually what? Reiterating the jiva. The more and more you reiterate the jiva, you remain the jiva. But when you let go of it through this knowledge, you become Brahman. That's all he's saying. It's a beautiful, beautiful idea. So it's not very difficult to memorize this shloka. And like I said, you don't have to put in effort to memorize. Just keep chanting the shlokas every day. You will start memorizing. You use the book and keep chanting. There will come a time when you can chant it without the help of the book, without the need of the book. So, Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havihi, Brahmagnav, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivate, Brahma Karma Samadhina. Offered by Brahman, offered into Brahman. What is offered is Brahman. What is it offered for to get back to Brahman? And what will be the result? Brahman. That's all. That's all this shloka is saying. So, once you have this knowledge, this understanding, go about doing actions with this knowledge. Then your actions will be dissolved. This is what he said in the previous shloka. Why his actions are all dissolved? His whole actions are dissolved. Why? Because he has this vision which he talked about in 24. So if you have this vision, then all your receipts, reaction and response will be soaked in this awareness. That is what is spoken about from 25 to 30. If you are liberated, it will be soaked in this awareness. If you are not liberated, it will be done with this awareness as a sadhana. Then your actions will be purified and you get totally liberated. So this is what this shloka said. So from 25 to 30, the next topic He gives 12 yajnas, where he teaches us how to convert every action of ours into worship. When our actions are converted into worship, then the punya papa dissolves. If it's not converted into worship, then you will be gathering punya and papa. So, next one he is going to talk about all our receipts, reaction, and response, which is what we do throughout the day. And then explains to us how it can be converted into worship. In other words, to be spiritual, you don't have to do something, suddenly something different. Oh, he's turned into spiritual. So what? He's resigned the job and then he's doing something else. No need. Whatever you're doing can be converted into worship. So the fear in the world is what? This fellow is going to all these Vedanta classes. He may leave and go into something else. If you really understand correctly, you will not leave anything. There is no need to leave anything. In the 9th chapter, he's going to say, Yat karoshi yadashnasi yachuhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. It doesn't matter what you do, man. How you do it. That is what he's going to talk about in the next two shlokas from 25 to 30. We'll see that in the next class. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.